What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday and welcome into the Better Baseball MLB DFS live stream here at Fantasy Alarm and the Better Sports Network. I am your host, James Grande, and I am joined today. It is an honor and a privilege to have Mr. Colby R. Conway. Don't forget the R. Here with me to break down the 11 game main slate we have on tap. Colby, what's going on, brother? Happy Wednesday.
Yes, happy Wednesday to you. Glad to be back in the seat here after getting a couple days reprieve. So it's glad to be back here talking with you again. Looking forward to just some good old-fashioned DFS talk.
Dude, we're not even 1 minute into the show. And we get a comment from our good friend Mark Pitts. And all hail the Playbook Twins cover. Yes, I am the one who did the playbook today. I did have Byron Buxton on the cover today. And, to those that have tuned in daily to this show, we all know that we are massive. This is basically turned into a Twins fan podcast. Like, I'm just going to start labeling it the Better Baseball Twins MLB DFS show, even if they're not on the slate, and we'll just go from there. The Twins are on the slate. They are taking on the Royals and Alec Marsh. And if you guys know the history of Alec Marsh in the minor leagues last year, Alec Marsh lost a lot of baseball games over the last 2 years. He was 2-16 between AA and AAA in the year 2022, and he has not been much better in 2023. So a lot of Twins talk to come. There's a lot of baseball to come, Colby. 22 teams in action tonight. Doesn't look on the weather side of things. It doesn't look like we're expecting many issues. I know there was an issue earlier today in Toronto, Chicago that could be something, but it just looks like it's simply if they wait out the storms, they'll play. And that seems to be the trend as well. Hopefully I think if we get a delay, this game is going to be delayed. That's a good thing. Don't worry about it being a bad thing. There's winds blowing out in Minnesota, just to a little more sprinkle on top of that twin stack. That's really it. What about the Vegas side of things, Colby? Anything that stands out to you as we head into this 11 game slate, and over-unders, money lines that really stand out to you?
Well, the best thing you can do here is to take when you're given a question and you throw a question back. So let me ask you this, because I can't make sense of this. Why has the over-under in this Angels-Padres game gone down? Why did it open at 9 and now in some place you're seeing it at 8.5? Am I missing something here? Because last time I checked, Patrick Sandoval certified not good anymore. And I do like Seth Lugo, but he's not la creme de la creme of right-handed arms. I understand there's the injury to Trout, but that San Diego lineup still has so much thump. Why is this gone down by half of a run? This seemed like an over to me at 9, and now it's just a smash the over at 8.5.
Yeah, I think something that I'm interested in, and I know, Otani again left yesterday's game with the fingernail and he stayed in to bat. I'm wondering if there is something that has leaked to someone in the sports book world that suggests that he's not going to play today. Because there was times earlier in this year where he wasn't playing after starts anyways. So maybe this feels like an inevitable day off after everything he's done, and now back-to-back starts where he's clearly had an issue with the fingernail. Maybe that's where we're headed. And then you're looking at an Angels lineup, Sands, Trout, and Otani. Just a speculation. I don't think we have anything official for the Angels just yet. As I dive into... Yeah, I don't see anything official for the Angels yet. So maybe something to monitor. That would be my suspicion. My suspicion is an Otani off day. And then you're looking at Mike Moustakas. Last time we did this show was hitting third or fourth. Maybe he's hitting third tonight. So that remains to be seen. And you know what? For longtime reliever Seth Lugo, and we can transition off this into pitching. I think that's a perfect segue into the pitching position. Longtime reliever Seth Lugo maybe should have been started a little bit earlier in his career because he has been pretty good. I debated putting him in the playbook today. He ended up making the core play section of my playbook, not the write-up. But he's been really good since returning from the IL. Cincinnati, Washington, San Francisco, 3 pretty good / annoying offenses to face. And he had trouble with Washington. Sure, that happens a lot more than I think people realize. So I do like Seth Lugo, and I think there is a reason why we saw that total dip, because a lot of people are either there's something people know about Otani, they're banking on the Otani out, or there's the lineup card to come out without Otani's name in it. And San Diego's pitcher is pretty good outside of some struggles with left-handed bats. And if there's no Otani, I mean, yeah, Moniak undeniably has been good, and Moustakis has been good for them. But like, are we worried about Matt Tice, Rengifo, and Escobar? It's not the most thump. So I like Lugo quite a bit tonight. I know he's not, obviously we will circle back to the top and we'll get to some names we probably like more in maybe Justin Steele and Pablo Lopez, but I do like Seth Lugo. What's your flavor today at the top? I mean, if you, or unless you have something to add on Seth Lugo before I move on.
Just that I like him as well. And I mean, it's one of those things too, where when you look at his last couple starts, 5 innings, at least 4 Ks in each one. He's got a 9.4% swinging strike rate. Angels had the 7th highest strikeout rate against righties since June 1. So he's every lineup I've done today. My SP1 has fluctuated in that who that ends up being, but the SP2 has been pretty locked in with Lugo.
So who has it been fluctuating between? Is it Steele and Lopez for you, or is there another candidate as well?
No, it's those two best 2 matchups on the slate. I talked about Justin Steele, player prop today because Milwaukee just notoriously bad against lefties, and Justin Steele has been my guy since February. So now that he's back in the mix, I'm glad that he's back in. And you can look at it. Milwaukee's been better of late against lefties, but they're better in the fact that they're still striking out over 1/4 of the time. It's like, yeah, he's definitely improved. Instead of being a 210 hitter, he's now a 220 hitter. It's like,
right.
Okay, so it's an improvement, but it's not anything to write home about. So I like Steele strikeout rates higher on the road as well. So he's the one. And obviously Pablo Lopez on this slate. If Kodai Senga was at home, my next comment may be a little bit different, but there's no higher strikeout floor on this slate than Pablo Lopez. I mean, just look at his numbers every single start. It doesn't matter. All Kansas City does is strike out against right-handers. That's all they've done all year. So in terms of a strikeout floor, you're hard-pressed to find one higher than what Lopez has tonight.
Yeah, and it's not apples to apples, but look what Kenta Maeda did yesterday against this Royals lineup, and then look what Joe Ryan did the day before. Like, outside of home runs, literally, Michael Garcia hit a home run 2 days ago, and who hit the home run off Maeda yesterday? Bobby Witt hit the home run off Maeda yesterday. It's like, that's been the entire damage. Just solo shots or 2-run home run after an error. That's it. So it's hard pressed to find better options, I think. And that's kind of, we had a comment in our Discord earlier. You can head over there and we'll be happy to answer any and all questions we don't get to here, or any question you have about the slate all day long. But the lineup didn't include Lopez or Steele, and I liked it because it had Lugo and a guy we'll get to in a second here, and Bobby Miller. But I don't think any other pitcher on the slate has as high of a ceiling as you mentioned in terms of strikeouts. And where you're playing on DraftKings, that's what matters. Like, strikeouts matter the most, and they have the highest ceiling in that specific instance. Anyone else like up here interest you? Because I looks like I'm differing from the field on one specific name above $9,000, and his name is Jose Barrios. But do you like Senga or Barrios, or either of those two guys?
Playing Senga's a wild ride, and doing it on the road just makes the roller coaster even that much crazier.
Yeah,
We're now riding
sure
the roller coaster with no, that little harness or, the glorified seatbelt that they give you on the roller coaster. That's what it feels like playing Senga in general, but on the road, it's even worse. So, the lineups that I've done, I've pretty much locked in, like I said, Steele, Lopez, and then, Lugo or Miller as that SP2. I haven't really tinkered at all with the Senga, Barrios, Gray, Cobb. No one in that real range I've really even looked at. I'm never going to say no to attacking the White Sox because outside of maybe 2 hitters, they're not overly worrisome. And I do like Jose's chance for a win tonight. So I think he's appealing. It's just not – a Barrios build is just not one I've messed around with a ton today.
So I've gotten to Barrios quite a bit. And
Okay.
the reason I say this is first off, Pablo Lopez, undoubtedly is going to be extremely popular. I get it. Like he is going to be really popular. Bobby Miller in the mid tier is going to be popular. I think that's a very appealing price tag. It's a very appealing matchup. The Pirates have obviously taken a nosedive from where they were earlier in the year. Sorry, I know this is half a Pirates podcast here, but um, I look at Jose Barrios getting 3% ownership, and I just ask myself, like, why? I mean, I get it. He hasn't been as good lately, specifically, has not been as good lately, but he faced Boston, a team that has a very good offense, 8 strikeouts, still in a start. He loses and gives up 8 strikeouts, right? Faces Miami, struggles through that one. Take it. Fine. The White Sox do one thing and one thing well, and they hit lefties. They have like a pretty good lineup of lefties against right-handed pitching this year. They are 27th in OPS. They are 27th in WOBA. They are 11th in strikeout rate at 23.2%. And I say this all the time. When you look at them, their deficiencies are that they just don't have lefties in their lineup. Like, yeah, they probably thought Oscar Colas would be that guy, and that's why he made the opening day roster. And yeah, they probably thought Andrew Benintendi would be better than he is. But like those two and Yasmani Grandal are the only lefties in this lineup tonight, and that's the only thing that hurts Jose Barrios over the last few seasons. I mean, you look at his numbers this year, righties have a 130 ISO and a 274 WOBA against him and a 47% ground ball rate. Like, they're not doing anything against him. And their best hitters, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, and Andrew Vaughn, 3, 4, 5, are all righties. Like, I'm getting to Jose Barrios to be contrarian. I am not putting him ahead of Justin Steele or Pablo Lopez because I don't think he has the ceiling they do. But nothing outside of a Luis Robert home run, which is exactly what happened last night, right? Luis Robert hits a home run, 3-run home run. They don't score any other runs. Other than a Luis Robert home run or an Eloy home run, even if those things happen and they're solo shots, it doesn't really matter because they strike out a lot and they don't do a lot offensively. So I've found myself this is my specific contrarian play at the pitcher position because once we start navigating lower, and we're going to talk about Bobby Miller and we talked about Seth Lugo, there's nothing that I want to play. I don't know if you agree or disagree there. Like and I'll just touch on two things that I'm just kind of confused about. One being Alex Cobb getting the third highest rostership percentage tonight on the slate. Don't understand that one in any facet. Fourth, I should say. Don't understand that one in any way. And I don't understand why so many people have this infatuation to play Lance Lynn. Basically, every slate he pitches, I know he had the 16 strikeout game, and that was great. Rah, rah. Like, way to go, Lance. But he just can't navigate left-handed bats. And I know Toronto isn't a team that has a lot of lefties, but Brandon Belt and Dalton Varsho are pretty dangerous. Do you have interest in either of these chalky pitchers in Alex Cobb or Lance Lynn?
If I'm not mistaken, wind should be blowing out. And I know San Fran does a little bit with mitigating some of the wind and stuff. And I think the infatuation with Cobb is just the fact that if you look at his home splits, I believe it's a sub-2 ERA.
Yep.
Okay, that's cool. But some of the Seattle bats are kind of interesting tonight.
Yep.
Lance Lynn, it's kind of the same thing with Pablo Lopez. It's the strikeouts. And you're just going to bank that there's enough strikeouts to offset all the other crap that's going to happen for him in this one. So no, those seem like traps, if I'm being honest. I can't get there. And you're right. The farther you go down the board, it gets ugly. I know in the podcast this morning, you and Fency talked a little bit about Tommy Henry. And if you want to kind of go that route, I hate to kind of divide the two, but I'm right on the fence. I can see why you would want to. I don't think it's something I can do. Alec Marsh is down there. Can't go him. There's even some kind of infatuation taking a chance on the 4K arm and Tommy Malone. I don't love it,
No.
But the Giants strike out a ton against lefties. That's kind of all there is to it. He's not going to get deep into the game, which is my other concern. And he's not a big time strikeout arm to begin with. So, that's just, if you're trying to load up and you're trying to say you're trying to get like a Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna, Michael Harris, and you're just going to load up on Braves, you could go there. But this doesn't seem like the $4,000 play to go with. But San Fran does strike out a lot against lefties, so that is kind of one thing in Malone's favor.
So now you're turning into me, and you're playing Wynn here. What's his name? Austin Wynn. What's it?
Mason, was it Mason?
He's on the Giants. So like roles reverse here. We could just look it up here.
What was his name? Yeah, Mason Wynn.
No, Keaton Wynn.
Yeah, whatever.
Keaton Wynn.
Oh, Mason Wynn's the. Never mind. He's an infielder.
He's an infielder. Yeah, Keaton Wynn. 4K. Not pitching today, but this is roles reversed. Pitcher for San Francisco. 4K. I'm a little indifferent about the 4K Tommy Milone. I get it because he's 4K, and if he gets you like 11 and a half fantasy points, you're probably just taking that to the bank and you're moving on because that affords you other things like Matt Olson or some type of spend up, likely on the Braves. Again, only other option, honestly. And Mark asked about the first real question, the Tommy Henry. I want to circle back to Tommy Henry. Because we did have the discussion earlier, and I think there's something to be said about Tommy Henry and like the peripheral stats that like he struck people out at the minor league level, and he hasn't done that at didn't do it when he got called up last year. Is like starting to do it a little bit more now. But like Tommy Henry has lowered his ERA to 4.08. His xFIP is 5.22. He has been extremely lucky with batted balls, 274 BABIP. He's a guy that has allows a lot of fly balls, 44% fly ball rate too. And the Mets, do have a lot of power bats, especially from the right side of the plate. Lindor, Pete Alonso, Tommy Pham specifically. I mean, they've done damage against left-handed pitching. I know as an offense, they rate out near the bottom of the league in a lot of categories, but those three guys specifically, you look at what Brandon Nimmo's doing, and you look at some of the splits for Tommy Henry, he's pretty bad against the left side of the plate as well, and Brandon Nimmo has been really good. So, like, the top half of the Mets lineup is really scary to me facing Tommy Henry. I think it's a pretty good hitting environment in Arizona. I'm more on the side, and in the playbook, I have the Mets stack listed. I'm more on the side of I'm going to stack the Mets as opposed to using Tommy Henry. So I'm okay if we're like not if you don't want to go full bore stacking Mets. Like I get it because he has unquestionably been better. I mean, 2 earned runs over his last 2 starts, 3 straight starts where he's 1 out away from 3 straight quality starts. He obviously has a really good offense hitting behind him as well with Corbin Carroll back in there. And so like he has more win equity, but the strikeout upside hasn't been there. And I'm not ready to dive into, just after basically 1 good outing in the strikeout department. That's kind of where I stand on the Tommy Henry front today.
Yeah. And with the Mets, I mean, it's since June 1st, the Mets do have the 8th highest strikeout rate in baseball against left-handed pitching. So that's pro Henry. But on the other side of things, in that same span, the Mets are tied for the highest rate of hard contact against lefties too. And when you got a guy like Henry, you said, who's a fly ball guy,
yep,
hard contact plus fly balls. I'm not saying it's something, but I'm not saying it's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, he's allowed a lot of home runs this year. I mean, 1.58 home runs per 9 innings this year. That correlates to having a 44% fly ball rate. He has made 13 appearances, 12 home runs. Like he's, again, low strikeouts, a lot of fly balls against an offense that surface level, top half of the lineup is good against lefties. We'll see about the rest of the lineup, obviously. But anything else? I guess we should just circle back to Bobby Miller quickly. Do you have any like trepidation going to Miller after it should have been a better start against Kansas City and it wasn't? He still got the win, 15 fantasy points, whatever, but he's 8,900. Now down to 8,300. He's really popular. He has one of the highest strikeout props over on DraftKings Sportsbook tonight. And he just hasn't been missing a lot of bats recent starts. Like, any trepidation going to Miller, or are you all systems go here?
Well, I think you have to have some trepidation.
Yeah.
I mean, where's that guy from the first couple
Agreed.
starts in his career? Like, you
Agreed.
can't. I understand it's Pittsburgh. They haven't been good of late. I get all that. The price point's very good, but you can't tell me for a guy with 16 earned runs in his last 12 or so innings with quick math that I'm doing there to say that there's no concern with him going into this. You're just lying. Like, you have to have some concern.
Right.
Like, again, now I say that, and I'll be very okay with us playing him. I mean, that's pretty much, I think, the camp that we're going to fall into. But he's value-wise, it's very good. The upside is there for him in this slate, but it's just tough to look at 8,300, and we're talking about a guy who has less than 3 fantasy points in 2 of his last 3 outings. Like, there's definitely some cause for concern, but Pittsburgh has not been good of late. I'm not admitting that. I'm just quoting how you said it for the record. So, but I mean, yeah, there's got to be some concern with Miller, but I'll be fine playing him.
You don't want the Pittsburgh blogs to come after you because you've gotten so good with them. So you're like, I can't say anything bad about them. You just blink twice if I'm on accurate.
I think the number changes every time I talk about it, but there's like a fearless 13 of us, so
Okay,
they're
true.
tough.
Yeah, I think that'll do it for pitcher. I'm not totally sold on anyone else at all. It is, as Ryan said, shout out Ryan for supporting every day. This is a gross pitching slate. I think that's exactly how to describe it. I think there are good arms, but I think this is a largely a gross pitching slate. Colby, before we continue, is that time of the show that we bring in our real-time sports talk. Not real talk, real-time sports talk, and talk about their daily pick'em contest. All you got to do is set up lineup of player props, hit them all, and you win. NFL, MLB, NBA, PGA, and more. So all you got to do is you go to rtsports.com/alarm, and first-time depositors get a 100% instant match up to $200 after using code ALARM23. That is ALARM23. So again, go to rtsports.com/alarm, and first-time depositors get a 100% instant match up to $200 with code ALARM23, ALARM23. And please play responsibly. And if you have a gambling issue, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. So Colby, the last 2 days, Fancy and I built a little 2-pack pick'em play with more or less here. Howard Bender and I did. Howard does the RT Sports plays over on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel. So if you guys want to head over to our YouTube channel, which we're live right now here, you can do that and give that a look for today's plays. But me and you are each gonna pick our top play of the day, and we're gonna submit that into RT Sports and see if we can win some money, maybe enough to both support us a burrito bowl from Chipotle, or 2 burrito bowls from Chipotle. I mean, because the amount of burrito bowl cost these days is outrageous. But Colby, with that being said, what is your top play over on RT Sports of the day?
Yeah, so that promo code you said was ALARM23, right?
ALARM23, yes, sir.
Well, Alarm has 5 letters, and so does Olson, Olson. So go to that Atlanta game. Matt Olson, 1.5 total bases. Click the more button. That's the first one we're looking at here. I mean, I don't know where to begin. Over the last 2 weeks, do I start with that 595 ISO against righties? What about the 929 slug against righties? What about the fact that in his last 42 at-bats against right-handed pitching, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, 7 home runs in 42 at-bats. 6 at-bats per or 6 at-bats per home run versus righties over his last 42 at-bats. Otherworldly. Matt Olson, more than 1.5 total bases.
Yeah, love that. And Cal Quantrill has been very bad against left-handed bats this year specifically too. Love that. And we're going to pair that. We're going to head to the Chicago Cubs game, and we're going to look at Justin Steele strikeouts. And you talked about it when we were talking about Steele. Nobody strikes out, and this is pretty much what it comes down to. Nobody strikes out more than Milwaukee this year. And Justin Steele is coming off 6 strikeouts and 8 strikeouts in 2 of his last 3 starts. I think this is one of the easier props of the day. So Colby, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the enter button. We're going to be locked in with Matt Olson, 1.5 total bases. We're going over or more than 1.5 total bases, and we're going more than 5.5 strikeouts for Justin Steele. So before we get out of here, just once again, Go to rtsports.com/alarm. Use code ALARM23. That is ALARM23. And first time depositors get a 100% instant match up to $200. All right. With that being finished, Colby, let's head back to the DraftKings slate. We'll head over to the catcher position. And this position stinks. I'll just say it flat out. I don't like it. I don't want anything to do with it. Unfortunately, we got to talk about it. What are your favorite catcher plays of the day today, Colby?
I really like Patrick Bailey.
Same, actually. That would probably be the first guy I would talk about.
So on to first base, or
I mean, pretty much on to first base. I mean, look, he has definitely been awesome against left-handed pitching this year. He's been kind of awesome both splits, but he's been really good against lefties. So I fully agree. I think hitting in the middle of that San Francisco lineup, very fruitful 35. I like Gary Sanchez if you're playing San Diego stacks. He has a monster ISO against left-handed pitching. And again, Patrick Sandoval, 7.11 ERA in the month of June. You know, poor guy can't strike guys out anymore, which has been the MO for him the last few years. So I like Sanchez. I like Patrick Bailey. And I weirdly like Keibert Ruiz. I know he has not been great against right-handed pitching this year. I understand that. He also hasn't been all that great lately. But my God, Graham Ashcraft is bad. Like, he started off the year in his first 3 starts, and we're all like, whoa, what is happening with Graham Ashcraft? And then that was exactly the question for the last 15 starts. Whoa, what has happened to Graham Ashcraft? Like, lefties are hitting him hard, 199 ISO, 363 WOBA. Righties are hitting him hard, 195 ISO, 374 WOBA. And I know he gets a lot of ground balls, but that's okay. Keibert Ruiz and the rest of the Nationals are all death by 1,000 paper cuts anyway. He might just go 4 for 4 with 4 infield singles and move on. That's 12 fantasy points, you know? So if I was going any below Patrick Bailey, I don't hate Keibert Ruiz. We know he has some power. But like, I mean, look at the rest of this position. It is a nightmare. I think I'm ready to move on if you are, unless you have anyone else at catcher.
I don't mind the Ruiz call just because law of averages says if you put the bat on the ball against Ashcraft, good things tend to happen for you. So at least there's that. Henry Wilson did the value plays over at Fantasy Alarm today. He shouted out Tom Murphy, very cheap on DraftKings, 2,700 in the recent game logs. Don't look all that bad.
He
so
has
if you are going to
really
go
crazy.
Yeah, so if you're going to go dumpster diving, it's not a bad way to go.
Dude, it's crazy. Like, I don't know what to make of this, but like, you know, maybe he just stole Cal Raleigh's powers. That's all I got. No analysis, but because he can only hit lefties last year. Now he's just hitting everybody. So, yeah, Tom Murphy, 2,700. It's a good call by old Henry 13, Wilson 13. Let's head over to first base where the aforementioned Matt Olson lies. He's the top spend up at the position and arguably one of the 3 best spend ups on the entire slate, if not number 1. He's top 3 and he might not be 2 or 3, Colby. We've already touched on Matt Olson, so we don't need to harp on it anymore. I really like Pete Alonso 5,200. I've already talked about it, and you know that's my disdain for more so for Tommy Henry, but I understand Pete Alonso's been bad. He's hitting 217. Like, hasn't been a lot lately. Like, the power hasn't even been there. But he is just a naturally powerful dude, and he's been that again against left-handed pitching this year. 304 ISO, 376 WOBA. The strikeout rate is pretty solid. The walk rate is really solid for Pete Alonso. I really like him as a pivot here if you're playing Met stacks, 5,200. Where else are we going? Anything else like up here, 5K, even below? I didn't find much. I was dipping my toes into the value tier pretty much after Alonso and Olson.
Yeah, at first base, we're talking about the top options for me. Olson far and above the rest, and that next tier is really just Pete Alonso, excuse me, and Freddie Freeman. Those are the only other top options there. But if I'm getting up to Freeman, I'm getting to Matt Olson. So that's pretty much where I'm looking at. After that, it's value. We're going value, and we're scrolling down. I have a bone to pick. I don't know who I need to pick it with, but I have one. In that, I wish when building my lineups that I could get Alex Kirilloff in the outfield.
Oh, dude, it's just, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
I took a couple days off DFS. I think I took a couple days. I was like looking at this. twin stack. Am I going all three Twins outfielders with another outfielder we'll talk about later, as well as the cover boy? And I was thinking about it. Then next thing you know, I lock Matt Olson in. I put my starting pitching in. I'm like, all right, let's put in Kirilloff. Where'd he go?
Yep.
And I was like, can't we give this guy the Shohei Ohtani treatment where we can just stick him pretty much anywhere we want? Like, why can't we do that with Alex Kirilloff? Like the way he's playing lately, he's Ohtani-esque of late. He just doesn't step on the mound. So Kirilloff, if you're not paying up for first base, which is very hard to do or very hard not to do tonight, he's in a smash spot. Alec Marsh is just certified not good. So I love these Twins bats.
Dude, he was literally 2-16 between AA and AAA last year. And that's who we're putting on the mound for Kansas City. Like, I get it. I know teams need able bodies at this point. Like, I'm just saying, like 2-16 between AA and AAA. Come on. And it's not all about wins and losses, obviously, but he had like a 7 ERA over that span as well. It's not like he was pitching well. And if Kirilloff can't get outfield eligibility, why can Brandon Belt, who's now first base outfield? And I love Brandon Belt today. I'm not trying to like poo-poo Brandon Belt because I love the play. I said it. There was a Better Sports quoted it, and if you go to their Twitter account, I said anyone with a pulse, any left-handed batter that can breathe against Lance Lynn is live. They're just live to like hit a home run. And Belt, again, hitting in the middle of this lineup, hitting third again, which I've really liked Toronto, kind of using Belt where he should, and I think he's paid it off. He's been really good against right-handed pitching again this year. 206 ISO, 370 WOBA. Both lead the team against right-handed pitching, hitting third. And again, Lance Lynn, these numbers, 212 plate appearance sample. So like large sample. 309 ISO allowed to lefties, 449 WOBA. He is getting smashed. I wish there was more lefties we could play other than Belt, Varsho, and Kiermaier. Like that's all we have today to play against him. I love Brandon Belt, and fortunately for us, unlike Kirilloff, we can play him in the outfield for whatever reason.
Yep, makes no sense. And you also look Lance Lynn as well, ERA at home, well above 7. So like that. Love that Brandon Belt's getting the Shohei Ohtani treatment. Can't wait to play him at third base next week because that seems like that's the trend we're on. But I like Brandon Belt too. At least you can stick him in the outfield. I would love to play Kirilloff with any twin stack tonight. It's just I don't think I can come off Matt Olson, or you can't say, yeah, we'll pay up at other spots, and you got to go off of Olson, Alonso, and Freddie Freeman for Alex Kirilloff. It's just Kirilloff is a victim of this, of not getting the Ohtani treatment tonight and being able to go to the outfield.
That's opportunity cost for you right there.
Yep.
You described that perfectly. So let's move on to second base, where it's another position I'm not enamored with. I like Ozzie Albies' price way more on FanDuel. He's like mid threes as opposed to 5,700. I know he's flashing a lot of power lately, and even from the left side, which hasn't obviously been his good side at all. I don't love the idea of getting to him at 5,700. I think if I were spending up on anyone above 5K, it would be Matt McLain here, who has hit righties really well. And Josiah Gray's splits, he's obviously been much better than he's been in years past, especially in terms of power, because he obviously allowed 40 home runs last year. But righties are hitting him hard. 193 ISO and 346 WOBA. Lefty's really doing nothing against him. So I like Matt McLain above 5K. But what say you, Colby? Anyone else of note up here?
Not above 5K. McLain's the only one I do, whether it's a lefty, righty, home, away, night, day, it doesn't matter. Matt McLain's always in play. So I like McLain a good bit. He'd be my pay up guy. I like some of the, I don't even know if you can quite call them value options, but that like next tier at second base, like Andres Jimenez against Mike Soroka. I guess I'm lower on Soroka than most. I don't know. That's just where I seem to fall. I don't have much interest in him. And then, of course, if you're stacking Padres, even if you're not, GOAT Kim.
Yep.
Why not? Just guy's good. There's no other way around it. I believe he typically hits lefties quite well, and he's leading off lately against them too, right?
Yeah, officially leading off 229 ISO, 371 WOBA against left-handed pitching this year.
Oh, that'll play at the top of the order.
I will definitely play ahead of ahead of Tatis, who has a 400 ISO, and Machado, who has a 400 WOBA, and Bogarts, who has back-to-back days with their run bombs. Yeah, the Padres are in a good spot today to do some damage. I fully agree on those two names completely. They're the two guys I got to. A little love down here. Also, a comment from Mark. It only took a week of slates to get Colby on the Twins bandwagon. I fully agree. I mean, Mark, we convert everyone to Twins fans eventually. It just is what it is. Fensty was chuckling about how much we talked Twins yesterday or the day before. Yeah, I mean, we all eventually get there to how good the Twins really are, especially when they make the World Series this year. And Ryan says, Blue Jay stack. I do like the Red Sox for leverage. They are cheap. I will say, I don't love the Blue Jays as a stack. I like the one-offs. I'll say this about the Red Sox today, Colby, and we'll just quickly. They are really cheap for some reason. Like, Devers normally high fives. Yoshida's been 5K and above. Like, Verdugo's been 5. For whatever reason, they're real. Like Jaron Duran, who's raking, is $2,800. I can definitely see a scenario where we get to Boston, just given their price. I like John Gray, but the price point sometimes makes a lot of sense. BZ Red Sox for single entry. I like other teams more than the Red Sox. I'm just pointing out I could see a scenario where you get to them because they're cheap. Like, they would probably rank like fifth in terms of stacks for me. I think Minnesota is number one on the day for me. San Diego number two, but they're definitely in the top 5 of stacks. I mean, we got 22 teams on tonight's slate, so you can go a lot of different directions. Colby, anyone else like down here at second base? Edward Julian for me would be the spend down I'd go to. Power bat from the left side gets Alec Marsh, who again struggles against both splits, but I love this. I'm not saying Polanco is like expendable if Julian continues to hit, because Polanco is obviously versatile with like from both sides of the plate, but they just need to get this kid more at bats.
Agreed. Yep. 896 OPS at home this year too. Hitting second, but it's hitting second tonight. So, I mean, we've talked about how bad Alec Marsh is. So if you're stacking Twins, very cheap for a top 3 hitter tonight in that lineup.
Ooh. Kevin Biggio. I'm just going to pay respects. John and Pemba would definitely be interested in Kevin Biggio tonight, considering it's a lefty versus Lance Lynn. Just going to throw that out there in honor of John, who, is probably why. I don't know if you saw yesterday's show, but he, anyone who didn't, go back and watch the end of yesterday's show. John posing in front of the camera in Venice, Italy on his honeymoon. It's quite the sight. He doesn't wear socks with shoes, though. I find that repulsive. But anyways, third base we go, Colby. Always feels like a position that we should spend up on. Do you find yourself in that same boat? Manny Machado's here, Jose Ramirez. Like, who are you interested in here at the top?
Manny Machado.
Yeah.
I like the Padres bats. Machado, very, very good against lefties. So, he's probably my top guy. Again, I'll never say no to Elliot De La Cruz against a righty just because he is mashing them. And I believe it's just as recently as last year, Josiah Gray had problems with left-handed hitters. Jose Ramirez against Soroka is fine. But for me, I love a Padres stack, even if it only ends up being 2 or 3 guys. And Machado's been in it every single time.
Yeah. Multi-hit games and back-to-back and 3 or 4 too. So he's starting to heat up and he's definitely hit lefties well. I like Jose Ramirez, Machado, Devers. Price point is, again, just kind of silly. So I could see myself getting to any of those spots. The guy that I kept gravitating to today, and we've already mentioned how bad Graham Ashcraft has been, is Heimer Candelario, who is not slowing down at all. I mean, dude, he has 26 doubles on the year. Like, this guy has a lot of extra base hits. 42. I mean, we're talking about a guy, 81 games. He already has 42 extra base hits. Like, yeah, I think we all expected Heimer Candelario to be a little better than he was in Detroit. And he had hit lefties well historically. But this year it's been reversed where he's hitting righties extremely well. 264 ISO, 384 WOBA. I love Heimer Candelario today. I'm not afraid to scream it up from a rooftop.
I have written in my notes over here, contrarian stack, Washington, question mark. And there's guys at other positions that we'll get to. But, I mean, Candelario's just been insane. He's been exceptional, magnificent, whatever word you want to use.
Yep.
Last 36 at bats against righties, 7 extra base hits, 361 ISO, 174 WRC plus. I understand that very few players in this Washington lineup can go 3 for 4 with 2 home runs, but they can, like you talked about with Ruiz, 4 for 4 with 4 infield singles and 4 runs scored. It could happen. Like that's just what this offense does. And again, contrarian stack, Washington, question mark, question mark, question mark. That's where I'm at. Like, I understand Graham Ashcraft was good in his last outing. What has changed? He switched up his pitch mix a little bit. Sure. He's now a 2-pitch guy. That's not going to work out for him. He's not Spencer Strider, so it's not going to work.
Right.
He's going to come crashing back to earth. What happened to the 5 starts previously where he sucked? Are we just now, we're all back in now on Graham Ashcraft just being the second coming of Spencer Strider, the 2023 version of it? It's not going to happen. We can't overreact to one, but we can, after 4 crappy starts in a row, just say we can go at this guy. And law of averages against Ashcraft, you put the ball in play, good things happen. So I like it. And again, contrarian stack, Washington, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Yeah, like how many question marks? You could probably add a couple more question marks too. I mean, they'll definitely be contrarian. But I think it's a nice place to go. Interesting lineup note here, Colby. We do have an Angels lineup. Shohei Ohtani is batting third today. It is not a great lineup though. Moniak, Escobar hitting second. Ohtani, Joe Adell is hitting fourth tonight. Moustakis, Renfroe, Tice, Rengifo, Velasquez. So not like the best lineup you could have thrown out there. I think if you're where do you see? Was that you looking at Joe Adell's?
No, his strikeout rate too, but that's Lugo's stock right there. I just heard it flying over.
Oh, so yeah.
It's going up. He's not going to be he's a value starter, obviously, but any sort of lower-ish ownership might be out the window. That lineup is putrid.
Yeah. No, he was slated to be pretty popular, and now it's just,
even more.
Yeah, I did think you were looking at Joe Adell's strikeout rate because that's, it's up there. It's up there as well. Anything else at third? You ready to move on? Jordan Westburg would be the last guy I would throw out there. You talked about it last week. He hits righties. He has a righty in Randy Vasquez here in Yankee Stadium. He's been pretty good. Like the home runs haven't come yet, but 2 extra base hits, including one yesterday. Any interest in Jordan Westburg?
He's just been good. We haven't seen that explosive high ceiling fantasy output game, but he doesn't strike out. He's willing to take ball 4 every now and again, and he just gets hits, and righties, he mashed them in the minor. So yeah, I like Westburg a good bit.
At the shortstop position, home of Mookie Betts here. What do we like? Because I found myself once again gravitating towards a Padre up at the top, and I gravitated towards a Met. I don't know if you guys sense a theme in the lineups that I'm constructing tonight. But what say you about this top tier at shortstop?
And to confirm, Alex Kirilloff does not have shortstop eligibility, right?
No, he does. He does
and
not.
Neither does Brandon Belt.
That might be nope, but Beltray does.
Okay.
Toronto,
that must be coming next week. That must be
next week.
You said it. How do we not play or at least consider Mookie Betts? 5 home runs in his last 36 at bats against righties. I'm not worried in this matchup for him, so we obviously have to consider him. But otherwise, at shortstop, Xander Bogaerts, Patrick Sandoval, not very good. Continue on with that Padre stack, and he's 5,000's really not a bad price for Bogaerts, all things considered. Like they easily could have very well priced him up even higher, and they didn't. So that 5,000 is actually quite fair. And then I do like Francisco Lindor as well.
Yeah, and he hits during the summer months. He was really good. Hey, look at that. Got some stolen bases out of Francisco Lindor yesterday. It's not just all or nothing for Lindor. And again, historically good against left-handed pitching. This year has been no different. On the year, 326 ISO leads the team, 375 WOBA, third on the team behind Tommy Pham and Pete Alonso. So I love Lindor, 4,900. I'm going to be getting to a lot of Mets. When we go down, is it Carlos Correa in the mid-tier and then it's everyone else? Or what's your thoughts here on this mid-tier of shortstop?
Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty much Correa in that mid-tier. No one else kind of really does it all that much for me until you drop down a little bit. Like two value guys are Anthony Volpe and CJ Abrams. Those
Yep.
are two guys that I kind of
Agreed.
find. Again, there's that Washington stat question mark, question mark, question mark, with Abrams hitting 367 with a 633 slug over his last 14 days against righties. And then obviously Volpe's just been much, 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 much better of late. So really shortstop to me just comes down to probably these 5 or 6 guys that we mentioned. Correa's just kind of caught in that no man's land at that point.
Yep.
Pay down, save $1,000 or go up for one of the big boys up there.
Yeah, I just only reason I like Correa here, he's starting to heat up. Obviously, hits in 6 straight games. He's leading off in my favorite stack of the day. So, like, but again, apparently there's a conspiracy that his twin brother has been playing this whole time. I just found this out like yesterday that it might be Carlos Correa's brother playing all this time, and who knows what's real anymore. I think it's hilarious. Aaron Boone talked yesterday with and said he's considering moving Volpe up to leadoff again, and then for a guy who's been hitting 6th for a week straight, he moved him down to 8th. So like, what are we like? What are we doing? Like, it's just Aaron Boone speaking is so annoying. Yeah, I think that's probably it, and move on to the outfield where 22 games. There's not a shortage of outfielders. So, with that being said, now we know Shohei is in the lineup indeed. What do we make of this top tier of the outfield position? Like, where are you looking to target, Colby?
I'll never say no to Ronald Acuna. Obviously, we already talked about Mookie Betts, Fernando Tatis. He's been very good against lefties. So those are kind of the big 3 up top that I think. If you go down a little bit, depending on how your lineup construction shakes out, Michael Harris is a 316 ISO against righties over the last 14. I'd love to see him move up in the order, but I mean, I don't mind him technically hitting in front of Ronald Acuna and company. Obviously, you're just at bats get a little bit capped. So like you go down a little bit for him, and that could be an option. Byron Buxton, obviously, cover boy of the playbook, so I don't mind him. It's tough with like 5 guys here that I would love to jam into 3 different spots, all of whom are above $5,400.
Yeah. You definitely have to pick and choose. Like, all those guys, I agree. Like, I'm not going to tell you not to play Acuna. I think you're playing these guys depending on your stacks, truthfully. I love Buxton tonight. He's hit righties well. Marsh has been bad against both sides of the split. Was the cover boy for a reason, not just because my Twins fandom was shining through. Tatis obviously elite against lefties. Acuna is going to have the first 40-80 season in the history of the game, and probably the last 40-80 season of the history of the game until he does it again next year. I think that's like how I feel about the 5K and above range. I will give a shout, and only a shout. I don't like the price, but Lane Thomas, who's very, very, very affordable on FanDuel. He's like $3,000 on FanDuel. Look, if you're playing Washington, you're playing Lane Thomas. Let's just put that out there. Like, even at 5K, you're probably going to play Lane Thomas if you're stacking them fully. He is the guy that has probably the most upside in terms of home runs outside of Candelario. Him and Candelario are probably on that same pedestal. And he's obviously a guy who can steal bases, and he leads off, and he's like pretty just good overall. So Lane Thomas, for me, I'll give him a shot at 5K, even though I don't love the price. I much prefer him on FanDuel. When we dip below 4 or 5K, Colby, I know you talked about Michael Harris. Is there anything else in this like 4K range? There is. I'll just say it. There is a ton of sub 4K guys that I like an endless amount of 4K guys that I like. So pretty much what I've done today is anything above 5K, I've pretty much been able to get because I've just dipped down into like the value pool of just endless amounts of guys, especially when one of them is making their debut at $2,000 and another Oriole top prospect, because the Orioles sucked for so long. They just stockpiled picks and picks and picks and picks, and they're all arriving here at the same time. Colton Cowser, pretty good value at 2K, don't you think?
Yep. There's your free square if you want to go with him, especially in cash games. I'm sure a lot of people are going to use him. I agree with you. That 4 to 5K range is just not where it is tonight. It's fine. I'd rather drop down and look at some guys like Max Kepler.
Yep.
That's an outfielder I love tonight. 3 home runs in the last 26 at bats against righties, and Alec Marsh stinks. We've talked about that pretty much ad nauseum at this point. Also, $2,700. Jason Hayward, who's just mashing righties over the last 2 weeks. You may never feel great about playing him, but you can't ignore the numbers. He's just been phenomenal of late. So I'm looking at him. And really, I think like Mookie Betts and Jason Hayward, you put those two together, you get a little mini stack with Dodgers, and that's, Betts is like 64 or something, and Hayward's down at 27. You're under 10K for the two of them. Like, that's very affordable. Like, you can do a lot of mini stacks tonight with like 2 or 3 guys on a team and be okay. You may have problems with like Atlanta just because they're forever going to be priced up. Because, like you said in a tweet, they sometimes just do a home run derby by themselves in a real competitive game. And it's insane. But no, tonight's outfield options, it's that creme de la creme at 5 and above, ignore 4 to 5, and then hammer those value options at outfield and pay up elsewhere.
Outside of Michael Harris, essentially, because I think Michael Harris is a good 4K range. I'll throw one more name at you, and that's Tommy Pham, who
you love this guy.
I mean,
as you should. That's not a jab.
It's the guy has look.
That's state facts.
Like, we don't know if he's a good fantasy football player, and we don't know how. He may be a crappy fantasy football, member, and you don't want him in your league. But like, he's been a damn good baseball player in recent weeks, and it's kind of gone on for like the last month. And specifically against left-handed pitching, he literally has numbers on par and better than Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso, who are, the Mets' best 2 players. And truthfully, Tommy Pham's probably been better overall this year than both those guys. And maybe that's recency bias because the last month has been so good. But he's $3,200. He's going to hit near the top of the lineup. I love Tommy Pham, especially if you're playing Met stacks. I like him in cash. You can play him in tournaments as one-off. Like, he's really affordable still for a guy hitting 400 over his last 10 games, where we know there's a little dual threat with him. Like, he can steal a base, he can hit home runs. So as long as Tommy Pham's going to continue to be this severely underpriced, I'm going to play him. And Mark has an interesting question here. And it is interesting because I liked the price of Jake Bauers today, Colby. And on FanDuel, he's first base only, I believe. He has been weirdly good against right-handed pitching this year. And obviously, it's not the biggest sample, but 131 plate appearance sample for Jake Bauers this year, right? 265 ISO, 352 WOBA against right-handed pitching. Like, those numbers are substantially better than every other member of this Yankees lineup. And that's insane to say. And obviously, there's obviously a big missing piece in that equation. But he's hitting 4th. I really don't hate it because Dean Kramer has been especially bad against lefties. 241 ISO allowed, 404 WOBA allowed. A Rizzo Bauers mini stack, and obviously they're not stacked against, right up against one another. Rizzo's leading off and Bauers is hitting 4th. Just like you expect the Yankees lineup to be, Rizzo leading off and Jake Bauers hitting 4th. That's what everyone expected as fans halfway through the season. But like, short porch in Yankee Stadium against a guy who struggles against lefties and lefty power specifically, and Bauers and Rizzo are that. Like, I like that stack, Mark. It's not terrible. Like, it does sound terrible, but it is not terrible of an idea.
Yeah, I mean, Bauers is a 292 ISO since June 1 against righties. Like, it's there. Rizzo hasn't been maybe as good of late.
No.
But again, Bauers falls in where we're talking about. It's that value outfielder.
Yep.
There's so much of it tonight that, if everyone in cash is going to go Colton Cowser, a couple of $100, you want to kind of just be a little bit of a different option there. Zig when others zag. I mean, there's a path for Bauers tonight to produce quite well.
And one more we can get to here from the King of Smack. What's up, guys? How do you feel about Braves? I mean, you must have not. You're just tuning in. Obviously, we are a Twins friendly show here, and yes, we like the Braves. I don't love Texas. I know that game total is appealing, and Texas offense can hit anybody, and it's hot in Boston, and it's obviously a good hitting environment. Brian Bayo's kind of just been really good. I don't know, yeah. John put me on really early. He's been really, really good this year. He has had basically one bad start, and everything else has been pretty quality, including the strikeouts have been there. You can always play Texas. No one's gonna be like, oh, that's a bad play. They're if they're not, they're the second best offense in baseball probably at this point behind Atlanta. So yeah, I mean, you could definitely play Texas. Washington, Colby's contrarian stack question mark is definitely in play, and Colby liked Tommy Malone. So I mean, if you think Brian Bayo gets smacked on his ass, like that's fine. He's just been good. So like if he continues to get ground balls, even though it's hot, I know, sometimes when it's hotter, it's harder to get the ball to go down, then so be it. I'm not going to be playing Texas tonight. And, if you are and you win a lot of money, I'm happy for you. Like, I hope you do. I want everyone in this stream to win all the money in the world. I mean, I want to win more, but I want you guys to win all. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Listen, I have a kid on the way. Okay. I need more money. Okay. I'm trying to. I almost had a takedown yesterday, Colby. Gosh dang, Brandon Nimmo line drive out his final at bat. But I digress. We have a couple minutes here, Colby. But before we start building lineup, anyone in this chat, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel if you don't already, so you get all of our great content. Colby put out the PrizePicks video for today, and has been killing it over the last 2 weeks of everyday grind over there in the PrizePicks streets. We put out our RT Sports video today, or Howard Bender over on Fantasy Alarms YouTube channel put out the RT Sports. Congrats, King of Smack. Twins on the way. Perfect segue into our lineup build, Colby, because just like King of Smack, okay, we're going to have a lot of Twins tonight too. We're going to have a lot of Twins tonight too, I think. And Ryan, I know, brother. I know. Shout out to you and your family as well. Colby, let's start our lineup. Where do you want to go? Do we want to go Steele or Lopez is the ultimate question here. If I'm picking, I think I would lean Steele, be a little more contrarian than the field. Pablo Lopez is where everyone's going. I want to be a little contrarian here and go Steele.
I agree. Let's put him in there.
Seth Lugo, SP2, I think you and I pretty much settled on. I think especially after seeing Joe Adell hitting fourth, it pretty much solidified it. Patrick Bailey was both our favorite catcher positions. I don't think that's something that you and I are going to change our tune on.
I mean, unless you want to go Gary, though, if we're going to stack Padres.
We'll come back to that because I don't know if we're going to be able to, because we're going to play Olsen at first, and that's obviously going to be costly.
Darn right.
I think Ha-Seong Kim here at second base is the play at 4,400. Then we can just skip ahead to this portion of the program where we go Kowser at 2K. What's your value outfielder? Kepler would probably be another value outfielder I'd play. We don't have enough Twins for my liking personally.
Yeah. Do you want to lock in? Do you want to go Kepler Buxton?
Kepler Buxton would be. I like that one. Let's go Kepler Buxton. 2,800, 54. So we have 36. We have the ability, if you'd rather get to like a Machado or Xander, where we go down from Kim to Julian, and that would get us more high profile Padre, or we stay on Kim and live in this value tier for third and short. Because if we went Julian, right, let's just say for lineup sake, we went Julian. We have 4,300. Machado, I think that's 100 off Volpe. Oh, we can get Volpe at that rate. We only have one Padre in that lineup, but it gets us Olsen. You liked Volpe at short, and we get the one off of Machado here at third.
I'm good with it.
You're good with it?
All right. The other thing, if you do want to add a Padre quick, you could make the switch to Gary. If you did want another one.
I don't think we can.
Oh, no, we couldn't. Never mind.
Gary's 42.
No maths.
Yeah, math's hard sometimes. Yeah, math's hard. I agree. Steele, Lugo, Bailey, Olson, Julian, Machado, Volpe, Kauser, Kepler, Buxton is the lineup. Thank you all for watching. We'll be back again at 9 a.m. Eastern with the DFS MLB podcast. We'll be back again with the Better Baseball MLB DFS show tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. For James, for Colby, we thank you guys very much. Let's